Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. This is Jenny Oya with Nuggets and Things. I'd like to share a little bit with you today about, addressing things that haunt you. Sometimes we're haunted by things that has happened who knows how long. But those things that happened, in our past sometimes still haunts us today. And those hauntings keeps us, from going forward and receiving our fullness. Because it's like a water's going through a hose or going through a faucet, and sometimes there's a stoppage in there, and it won't give its full flow, and it can't, be at its. We can't be at our best when we have things that haunt us, that stop us from really getting where we need to go in life, right? And those things that haunt us sometimes, can be detrimental sometimes, right? Because just when you're about to do something, the very thing that haunts you comes back to your mind. You go, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't do that. And of course I've got to share a story with you, right? I've got to share the story. First, I want to greet you because it is finally got the feel of fall or the autumn season, but it feels so cool. I think it's like 60 some degrees. I'm loving it. But anyway, the story I want to share with you is many years ago, probably when I was in my early 20s, maybe 22. At 22 years old, I had two children, and I had two young ladies that lived down the road from me, and they had this thing that whenever their husbands went to work at night, they was afraid. So they asked me would I come down and stay with them because all our husbands worked at the same place. So they worked at night. So I would take my two and I would go stay at their home overnight. We would sit up, watch TV, we popcorn, laugh, talk, whatever. But to them, I was like the big sister, and they had newborn babies. And one particular morning, I was in, the bathroom, trying to get myself together. And I heard one of the young ladies screaming out my name, Miss Jenny, Miss Jenny. Why she call me Miss? Because, we were a couple years different, but Miss Jenny, Miss Jenny. And I'm like, what is it? Right. And she's banging on the door. And I went to the door and I said, what is it? She says, my baby, my baby. And she said, do something. So she was handing me her baby. Right. But as she was handing me her baby, I looked at her baby and her baby was blue and a bluish gray. And I knew the baby was gone. And so when she handed me the baby, I drew my hand back. And she was trying to push the baby at me. And I'm drawing my hand back, like, there's nothing I can do. And she's crying. The other young lady was crying. And I said, call 911. You know, it was the worst, I don't know, worst feeling you could ever have because she believed I could do something. You know, I didn't believe I could do anything. The baby had passed. And apparently, I think she said later on we found out that, she turned over in her sleep and smothered the baby. And I know it happens, right? It happens. But I also slept with my babies in the bed with me. But honey, I was very aware of my babies in that bed with me, And I don't want you to think I'm criticizing anybody. I'm just saying for me, okay? I was very aware that my babies was in the bed with me. Whenever I turned, I would reach out and touch that baby, right? Because I knew the baby was there. And you know how babies do, right? Through the night. When you turn, like they get closer, they kind of wiggle. I don't care how old they are. They find their way. They be right underneath of you, right? Because they want to be back where they were. So they're trying to reconnect. They're trying to be, rejoin to, where they were. And, so they kind of sync with that, that heartbeat. So they're trying to get back to that heartbeat and they're trying to get back, to that place in which they was snatched out of, they feel like. So with me, if my baby made any sound at all, I knew it, right? And I'm only saying that to say this: when our husbands came home, and the ambulance was there, it was going through a whole lot of things. I was just trying to get out of there because it was just devastating for me. It was heartbreaking, and I was lost, right? I was lost because I was trying to figure out what was it I could have done. How could I have saved this baby? Could I have saved this baby? Did I have what it took to bring that baby back to life? Again, I'm like 22. But those things haunted me for years. I was haunted by her handing me this lifeless baby. And apparently the baby had passed through the night. And this was probably like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning when she woke up and realized the baby was still, right? And her husband, when he got home, they were all crying. The house was in mourning, right? Which is one of the reasons why I don't like really say good morning, because of that mourning thing, right? But anyway, the house was in mourning. So I had to remove myself from the house, and I went home. But that moment constantly replayed in my head over and over again, right? And it haunted me, right? Even as I held my children. And let me tell you how things changed for me. About two years later, I was pregnant with a son, and I had my son, right? And I think I may have shared this story before, but if I haven't, this is going to come in with this story. So, well, I'm just, bringing it back, right? And with my son, he was probably, 3 or 4 months old, give or take. And every morning he wakes up, in the morning, and we're doing our real ritual thing, whatever it is, playing with him, getting him ready for the day, whatever it is. This particular day, I was in the kitchen cleaning, cooking, whatever. It was getting close to about 12 or 1 o'clock. And my spirit said, "Have you checked on your baby today?" I said, "Wow, he really did sleep all through the night." So I'm thinking, he slept good, right? So I went in to check on him, right? So I said, "Oh, let me go check on him." So I went to go check on my child. And now remember now, this past morning, this is like early afternoon. And when I went to put my hand inside the crib was cold. Now, again, it wasn't cold, um, naturally cold, but it was cold as far as the feeling I got that something was wrong. I never got a chance to touch my son. I just reached in to grab him, and I felt coldness, and I pulled my hand back. Remember? Pulling the hand back. Whew. And I called him, because every time I called him, he would always, just jump up, pop his head up. And I called him, and there was nothing moving. I called him again. He didn't move. Now I'm afraid something just happened to my son. So I reach in this time to get my son. And when I reached in, his body was hard, hard. And when I reached in, I could rock him like a brick. And I rocked him. And there was no life in my son. Right? And I screamed for my husband at the time. He was outside. And I screamed for him. And I don't think he heard me. And then, okay, in church, I began to say Jesus. And I said it 3 times. And I screamed it. I called on what I knew. I called on the God that I knew, right? You could do anything. I need my baby back. And I called on him. And the 3rd time I called on the name Jesus, my son started hollering. And he started hollering. When he hollered, I reached in and I grabbed my child and I held him close. And my child, to this day, is my gift. My gift. That reminded me sometimes of the haunting. So that time when life went out of the baby, I was able to see that baby come back. Then I thought, how come I couldn't do that when it happened to her child? Right? The haunting. What was the difference? right? So I was haunted with that. Oh gosh, 15, 20 years maybe. It bothered me. And sometimes it still trickles in my mind about that little baby. What if I could have done something, right? And then I had to realize that sometimes things that haunt us will always stop us and they will cause us to pause at a time we don't need to be pausing. It will cause us to forget the power that is invested in us, the power that, that we do have. Because, I'm always talking about power, right? And our ability to do things that sometimes we don't think we can do until we're put in a situation and it has to be done. And then you see the miracle, the change. My son he's happily 40 now. He's 40. And he says to me from time to time, when I used to tell this story, I go different places and I would tell the story of you know, him being brought back to me. I'm like, Mom, that embarrasses me when you talk about that. I said, honey, I don't mean to embarrass you. I'm just grateful every time I look at you because I knew it could have been another way. And I'm getting the joy of experiencing life with you. The first breath you took, right? I enjoy those times. But when you got the chance to breathe again, now that I'll never forget. I'll never forget it and hopes to help someone else to be remembered. But not just my experience, but any experience that you may have had that haunts you. You have to realize what you learned because you had to learn. It was a lesson learned, whatever it was. Whatever haunts you today was a lesson that you learned to help you get past, to be able to do something that you could not do before. And now you're able to do, right? The haunting has got to leave so you can be better, so you can fulfill your mission, so you can do the things that you're meant to do without hesitating. Hesitating because you don't think you can because of something that happened in the past. Remember how I withdrew my hand? Because the memory came up. Our memory is good. And when our memory came up, don't, then something said, go, right? And I was pushed into something that I would normally have withdrew from. Sometimes you got to be pushed into something that you would normally withdraw from, that you would normally say no to. Today, you must say yes. Today, you must go forward. And today, you must do exactly what you're supposed to do. Don't worry about the failures, the near misses, the oops, the hiccups. We all have them. Be concerned about if I push it this time, it'll work. So I sat in the delivery room with with a couple people, you know, and they said push one more time, just one more time, and you could see them getting tired. You could see them getting frustrated. I'm tired of pushing. I'm done. And they had said all kinds of words in delivery, but finally, the last push they gave because they didn't give up. In that push came their miracle, came their blessing, came their gift. Right? Sometimes it's a final push. Sometimes it's a final move. Sometimes it's that last chance. But that is what you need to get you across, to get you there, right? Believe in that. Don't give up. Don't stop. Understand it is meant for you to be exactly where you are, to do exactly what you're doing, because great things are about to happen for you, so that you can be able to tell somebody somewhere in your life, there was a time I would never have done that based on a bad experience I had. But because I realized that it was in the final push that I made it here today to tell you, you can do it and you can. Believe in yourself. Trust it. Trust the process. Trust you. Trust your God. Namaste. Have a blessed day. Be awesome. Be great. Let your light so ever shine. Don't stop believing in you. And whatever you do, be marvelous. Jenny Oya, nuggets and thanks. Blessings.